Hello and welcome to this Adeptus Mechanicus detachment review, where today we're going to be looking at the Rad-Zone cohort, same thing.
Well, it was the Rad cohort.
It was the Rad cohort. So we're going to be looking at basically the index detachment. It's had a lot of changes. So we're going to look at the new detachment rule, because obviously that's changed a little bit. We're going to be looking at the enhancements, the stratagems, some units that shine particularly in this detachment, and our overall thoughts of the changes, and kind of go from there, aren't we, Jake?
Yes, we are.
And then obviously a massive thank you to Games Workshop for supplying us the codex for us to be able to do this review and look at the AdMech in all their glory and provide this video for you guys at home. So Jake, what is the detachment rule?
So the detachment rule for this is the Rad bombardment.
Right, this was previously quite lackluster, wasn't it?
It was very lackluster,
Yeah.
but now it's a lot better, because the reason it was very lackluster before is because you would give your opponent the choice of whether to not take any damage or to take damage.
Right, okay.
And it's pretty obvious, depending on like what you went first or anything, like, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's a lot better.
Yeah,
okay, so
cool.
the first part of this is in battle round 1, before the first turn begins, you ask your opponent to pick each unit on the battlefield, and they've got to decide if they're going to stand firm or if they're going to take cover. If they stand firm, you roll a dice, and on a 3+, that unit takes D3 mortal wounds.
Okay, right, cool.
If they take cover, that unit is considered battle shocked for the whole battle round.
Oh.
And on a 5+, they take D3 mortal wounds. Whereas before, that part wasn't a thing. It was just that unit was battle shocked.
Yeah, sure.
So depending on either the army that person was playing, or even just if they went second or not, really, it may have not affected them. If you deployed very defensively and your opponent can't really use a lot of stratagems anyway, like being OC0 was okay, but you're not holding any primary, and if you got secure no man's land or tempting target, you could just, you know, preempt that by going, well, I'll just take some more wings on this unit.
Yeah, sure.
So that's super good. So that's a really, really positive change.
Yep.
And then the second part of this is from battle round 2 onwards, at the start of your command phase, you roll a dice for every unit in your opponent's deployment zone, or partially and not wholly within. So even if like one little bit of the base is just in, on a 3+, you take 1 mortal wound, and that unit must take a battle shock check. Whereas before it was just that unit took a mortal wound.
Okay, right. So there's still the battle shock element, which is big in after turn 1.
It is big after turn 1, because if you think, because this is done in your command phase, the only downside of it being in your command phase is that your opponent will run battle shock at the start of their command phase.
Sure.
So it won't affect any primary holding. But let's say you had maybe, I don't know, a capture enemy outpost, or you needed to swing an objective.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
You can, or even like they can't overwatch, they can't use any defensive stratagems, they can't use any offensive stratagems, even if you do get into combat.
Yeah, sure.
So it's still a bit lackluster, but at least I'm really glad it now has this extra part to it.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was just very like, oh, you take a wound. Like if you played Necrons, for example,
You wouldn't care.
you would just reanimate it. I think we actually have a game on the channel where I play Michael with Adeptus Mechanicus. I was using Adeptus Mechanicus, he was using Necrons, and I think my first turn lot of damage from the Rad bombardment, he healed.
Yeah.
Just instantly healed,
Yeah.
and then every turn after he just wouldn't care.
Yeah.
So it was very lackluster then.
Yeah, sure.
But now I think this is not the best, but I still think it's a lot better, a lot better.
We're trying to look at the positives here. From where it was, where it had no impact on the game whatsoever.
It can now have quite a bit now.
It does have some potential here, which is interesting.
And I will say as well, actually, if we look at this from like a meta perspective of the current moment in time with the Marine Codex just coming out, there's a lot of gunline feeling armies.
Yeah.
This can actually be really good, because there's a lot of armies like the Whirlwinds that want to sit at the back and just pepper you, or
and
do
also
stuff.
what stratagems to be used,
Stuff like that, and all of that. So in actual fact, I think this does actually have a bit more of an impact in the current game as it stands. But only time will tell if it will survive the test of time.
Exactly. I mean, we're spitballing here. You need reps to play this army to see how it works.
And I plan on getting a few games in with the AdMech.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
hopefully at some point, and maybe the members side, we'll be able to build on from this, right?
Yes. Exactly.
Awesome. So that is the detachment rule.
Cool.
So we're going to go on to the enhancements now.
Yes.
But before we continue, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, The Outpost. If you're looking for great deals on your miniatures, paints and gaming supplies, we've got you covered. Their wide variety of exceptional service makes them the go-to destination for all hobby needs. So don't wait, check out The Outpost today. Link in the description below.
Okay, Jake, so what's the first enhancement?
Right, so before we talk about that, it's going to be important to note, I've actually got our old index cards here.
Yes.
because where this detachment has changed quite a bit, I actually will be referring back to this to see if there is any significant changes, for one. But also the biggest change is they actually got rid of a whole enhancement and have swapped it for another.
Yeah.
So archived purge protocols, all the people that were probably not using that's gone now. And it has been replaced with radical sufficient. So this is probably...
Oh no, suffusion.
Suffusion, sorry.
That's the one.
This is probably, in my opinion, an auto-include enhancement.
Okay.
Just because this makes your detachment rule better.
Perfect.
Okay, so what this is, Adeptus Mechanicus model only, from the second battle round onwards, when resolving the fallout effect of the Rad Bombardment detachment rule, if the bearer is on the battlefield, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 6 inches of your opponent's deploy zone, in addition to units that are within your opponent's deploy zone. So the reason I think it's an auto-include is just because it definitely just makes that rule better.
Yes.
So now, if you're looking at it, if you're playing Dawn of War, so 10 inches on, you're now 16-inch effectiveness.
Yeah.
If you're doing the 9 from the centre, it's now an extra 6. So like it really, depending on the deployment zone, you really push that bubble out.
Oh, 100%. It could affect infiltrators.
Yeah, exactly.
Could affect things like anything. It's actually starting to affect no man's land, which is quite important.
And in my opinion, the reason I also think this auto-include is because the moment you start affecting the areas outside the deployment zone where a lot of the fight will be happening, you then start seeing, actually taking a mortal wound on something. That's like, that could be a whole model done. That could be a final wound on the character. And making them take a battle shock check as well. It means they can't maybe use some of their defensive stratagems, offensive stratagems. It's fantastic. So I think this is the auto-include one for me.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's really good.
The only thing I will say is there are some good other enhancements in here.
Yeah.
That one, you need the character space to take all these enhancements.
Yeah.
And two, it may just be the case of in your exact list, there may be some better ones.
Okay.
Like, for example, the next one called Perilous Eradication.
Right. Okay.
This used to be called Master Annihilator.
Right.
And it is the exact same. So while the bearer is leading a unit, models equipped with their models' ranged weapons have sustain 1.
Oh, great.
So fantastic, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Instant thing that jumps out to me, and probably going to be a word you hear a lot during the Adeptus Mechanicus reviews of the detachments, is breaches.
Yeah.
Really solid on those.
So what can join breaches?
Tech priests and manipuluses. So the non-Scutari characters can, which is fantastic. And you would have seen from other reviews and stuff, these guys haven't really changed. So the manipulator still gives you lethal.
Cool.
So having lethal and sustains with him, and then with the breaches rule to allow them to reroll hits if they're near a battle line unit, you're just fishing for 6s for days, right?
Sure.
So super good. The other one that is quite good, this used to be called the excoriating
that one.
It's called. It was basically it's stealth, right?
Yeah.
Stealth is the main thing.
Excoriating
Emasculation.
Yeah.
Mancimation.
We can read. Guys.
I can't read. Well, no, I can read, just not these words. It's the exact same. It just has a different name. And you know what? I'm going to save myself the embarrassment from saying that name because I'm completely stuck here.
I can say it.
Yeah.
No, I can't.
Okay, right, that's good. So again, those two have stayed the same. And the final one that hasn't gone, but has changed, and I'm very sad about this.
Yeah.
Omni Sterilizer.
Yeah.
It's still there, but it has received a bit of a kick. It now just gives you anti-infantry 2+ and 4+ on your ranged weapons.
Okay.
Anti-infantry 2+, anti-monster 4+.
Okay.
But does not give you +3 shots anymore.
Okay, so we're seeing a less downside to it.
The main thing for this, I imagine, was because of how good it was on the Manipulus.
Yeah.
So where the Manipulus had a torrent, dev wound, 2 damage weapon.
Yeah.
D6 +3 on that with anti-infantry 2+.
Yeah.
It made Overwatch insane for him. It made the shooting insane for him.
Yeah.
But in a way, I actually think that it's okay because the Dominus is still good with it.
Yep.
The Flamer is still great with it as well because it has
getting 3 extra shots, so it's still.
Well, you're not getting the shots; it's the anti-infantry you get.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Which is still great.
Yeah.
But the main thing actually is that this is going to sound maybe ridiculous to a lot of people at home, and you can say in the comment section if I sound ridiculous. it's just an enhancement slot freed up, I guess. Like you now maybe want to take, you definitely want to take the sustained one.
Yeah.
You definitely want to take the increasing the range on the Rad Bombard.
So that's radial suffusion and
Perilous Eradicator.
Yeah.
And then you have the room for maybe the stealth one, which could be good on certain units.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, overall enhancements, they have obviously changed a bit. But for the better. I'm going to say again, for the better.
Yeah, I agree. I think we have seen a buff, a significant buff at that. But I think what we're seeing here, a trend with all these new codexes, is the original index detachment is going to be the most all-rounder one.
Yeah,
so it's got good play all around.
Yeah, I think the nice thing about this is it's not limited to any particular version of the Adeptus Mechanicus, where for long-time fans, the Adeptus Mechanicus may know. You didn't know this.
I didn't.
Whereas Adeptus Mechanicus actually used to be two, back when they came out, there used to be two different codexes. So you had the Scutari cohort, which was all of the sort of little people, the chicken walkers, the flying people and the horse people didn't exist, but they are in the Scutari.
Okay.
And then they brought out a separate book called the Cult Mechanicus, which is the Dominuses, the Electro Priests, the your Belisarius Calls, your robots, all that sort of thing.
Okay, sure.
And this is the detachment actually where this is not split. Whereas, as you'll see through the detachment reviews we do, there is one heavily themed on Scutari, and there is one heavily themed on Cult Mechanicus.
Okay, cool.
Which is really cool. But I digress. So that's the enhancements. I think they're a lot better than they were. Definitely a lot more variety there.
Yeah.
And I think, again, it'd be really interesting to see it on the table.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, just having choice of 4 enhancements that can fit in any army is really good. So cool. Let's move on to the stratagems next and we'll see what they can do.
Let's take a moment to appreciate Colourforge, our fantastic sponsor. Their range of spray paints has become our go-to for making our miniatures come to life quickly and efficiently. The quality and variety of colours they offer are truly unmatched, providing a smooth application for stunning effects every time. Check out Colourforge for your next hobby project.
Okay, Jake, so what's the first stratagem?
So again, there are a lot of changes to these stratagems.
Yeah.
And the one thing I'm going to say right now is 3 of these stratagems have a new caveat. Okay. So this is a new part of them for the targeting section. And this is now, if you target a battle line unit with this stratagem, you can bounce it to that. That unit has it. And in addition, a Scutari unit within 6 also can use the benefits of this stratagem as well. Cool. Okay, I'm just going to say that now, and I will say on which stratagems that is the case for. It's for 3 of them. Yeah. But it just saves me reading the whole, like the whole thing when it's all the same.
I like it.
But they have changed a lot from this. Yeah. We must, however, sing a salute. Yeah. If you were there for the reviews and you've been here for all the reviews, you know I have a running joke here. Yeah. It's not a joke. Vengeful Fallout. Yeah. Shooting back at your opponent. Yeah. It's gone. That's not a thing in
It's been shot out of the codex.
It's not in this detachment.
Yeah.
Okay. But it got replaced with something, in my opinion, a lot better. Okay. And we're going to start with pre-calibrated purge solution. Yeah. I'm very impressed. I got that. So your shooting phase, 1 Adeptus Mechanicus unit from your army, and this has the battle line caveat. So you target with a battle line unit, you can pick another Scutari unit within 6. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in one of those units makes a ranged attack, if the target of that attack is within your opponent's deployment zone, you can re-roll the hit roll. Nice. So fantastic for turn 1. Yep. Really good for something like your Scorpius Disintegrator, which has indirect. So it'll be shooting, and then you don't have to worry about line of sight or anything, which I do think are quite good with this attachment. It's great because it's not wholly within either. So, little toe in if your unit's a bit slow. Yeah. It's great. I think it's a lot better than having a shoot back personally. It may be a bit controversial there, but I just think that the problem with the shoot back is what if you die? Yeah. It's pretty easy, right? Yeah. What if you die? Whereas this can be used on any unit, not just vehicles. You have the caveat of the battle line to be able to bounce it. Well, reroll hits is just flat better. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So good example of this, you could have Rangers. You could give them reroll hits, and then they could bounce that to a unit of Dragoons. Or an Onager. Or whatever. So really, really good. Was the Onager Scutari? He is indeed, Very, very good. Yeah, so the next stratagem is Baleful Halo. So this stratagem was one that was in the previous codex, index, sorry. But now it's actually seen its stratagem cost increase from 1 CP to 2 CP. Oh, okay. but because it does have that caveat of if you target this with a battle line unit, you can also put this on a Scutari unit. So what it does, in the fight phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its targets, you pick one Adeptus Mechanicus unit from your army that's not a vehicle, or you can pick a battle line unit, and then there's a Scutari unit within 6, and until the end of the phase, each time an attack targets one or more of those units, you get their -1 to be wounded.
Right, sure.
It's pretty good. It's just a massive shame it's 2 CP now.
Yeah.
Because I would normally find that when playing in the Index, you just didn't really have, like... This was really good at 1 CP, because it meant that you could throw your Rust Stalkers in, they could do a bit of damage, and then they could at least take a hit back.
Yeah.
You could use this on breaches, which were already really tough, to maybe take a bit more of a hit. But now, you're sort of looking at it and you're going, okay, well, I could target a Scutari unit and my Rust Stalker still, but I'm paying 2 CP for the pleasure.
It's quite expensive, but it's still it can come in. You're going to use it like once a game, right?
Yeah, it's still useful. It's just, again, a bit of a shame, right? This is a battle tactic, but I will say that that's not necessarily the best thing in this book, because there isn't actually any way of making your strats free.
Yeah, so there's none of that captain ability.
Well, at least in this detachment.
Yeah.
Cool. So next we've got the execution order. So this is the exact same as it was in the Index. This has not changed one bit.
Okay.
Your command phase selects one tech priest model from your army and one objective marker within 24 inches. You then roll a dice for each enemy unit on the objective marker, and on a 4+, they take a mortal wound, and they must take a battle shock check.
Right.
It's okay. Like, it's not great. This is probably something that you would see very nichely.
Yeah.
A good way of actually comboing this is you could go, okay, I will use my enhancement within 6. All your units within 6 there. You take a mortal wound on a 3-up, and you take a mortal wound on a 4-up. It could just be the bit of chip you need to do 2 mortal wounds in your command phase to then... and double battle shock check as well.
Yeah.
It could be enough, right?
Yeah.
But overall... not great. What is great though is lethal dosage. This stratagem used to be 2 CP, and it used to give you +1 to wound when shooting a non-vehicle.
Okay.
This is now changed to you only get to pick one Adeptus Mechanicus unit. But instead of giving you +1 to wound, it just gives you lethal hits. Bit more fitting of the name. But it's only 1 CP.
1 CP for lethal on any of your units?
Yeah.
Why not?
It's fantastic. I think, again, fantastic on something like your Rangers. Fantastic on maybe your non-breachers, so your destroyers. Because their strength is high, but maybe not high enough to deal with something like a tank. So for 1 CP, you can go, okay, I'll do that. If you have the sustained enhancement in there, you've got sustained and lethal.
You could, I guess, spend 2 CP as well for reroll hits, right?
Yeah, so definitely a combo there.
You could definitely go fishing for hits and lethals.
So you could use your destroyers as it says breaches with a manipulus with the enhancement have sustained lethal and all that built in. Whereas if you want like a mini version of this for a lot less points, you can spend 2 CP on your unit and go reroll hits in your opponent's deployment zone and lethal, which could make all the difference.
100%.
So I like that strat. I think it's good. Sadly, one strat I'm not the biggest fan of. But only because maybe out of my own selfishness, is aggressor imperative. So this has changed in the aspect of before you could only use this if you were in the Conqueror imperative, which is a part of your army rule.
Right, sure.
Now you don't have to be in that imperative to use it. But it is a lot worse because of it, at least in my humble opinion.
Okay, sure.
So this is now in your movement phase. You select one Scutari unit from your army. If that unit is battle line, you can also select another unit within 6.
Cool.
The caveat we all know and love. And until the end of the phase, each time one of those units makes an advance roll, instead of rolling a dice, you just add 6 inches.
Right, and this used to be advance and charge?
This used to be advance and charge for any Scutari unit while you're in the Conqueror imperative. So what's nice is, one, you're not limited by what imperative you're in to use this, which is really nice. However, it has now limited you a lot in the aspect of you just get auto advance 6, which could be really clutch for
objective or mission.
Like the Dragoons, for example, they can run and shoot if they're in that Conqueror imperative, or anything can run and shoot in that Conqueror imperative because it gives you assault. So if you know, okay, I need to cut an angle, I'll use it on my Scutari Rangers. They can go 6 to maybe get on an objective. I can then bounce that onto my chickens to maybe cut an angle or something. Use that on an Onager. But overall, it's just a bit of a shame because I really enjoyed running and charging my Rust Stalkers out with tanks.
I think obviously when you've got units that you want to be advancing and charging, just having the ability just to advance 6 but not still get the charge.
Yeah.
Can be.
Well, that's the thing is, you know, for Rust Stalkers, it would be great because they could come out of a Scorpius Dune Rider. They could, you know, set up 3. They'd move quite far, 6. They then would go another +2 on their advance. So they could go, you know, D6 +2 with their rule. You know, they end up like very close to your opponent's line, and then they're, you know, they're in there. But it's just a shame. And then finally, we've got Bulwark Imperative. So this has actually stayed the same, except for it is now 2 CP. Okay. Which is again a shame.
There's quite a few 2 CP strats here, right?
Yeah. So there are 2, which we say a lot. When there's 6 of them, that's 1/3 of them cost 2 CP.
Yeah. I mean, a lot in most like detachments, you're only really seeing 1 2 CP, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's very rare. I don't think I've ever seen a detachment with 2.
No.
And this is, so again, this was the other side of the Conquer Imperative sort of, you know, so if you're in the Protector Imperative, you can use this. You don't have that caveat anymore. Cool. Which is great, which is super positive. Yeah. It means you're not limited by having to go, well, if I want to use this stratagem, I've got to plan a turn in advance. You pick 1 Skitarii unit. If that unit's a battle line unit, you pick an additional unit within 6. And that unit gets a 4-up invul. Okay, so there's 2 ways of getting 4-up invuls here. Yeah, through shooting. This is for shooting. Now, something to note is, like you've just said, there's 2 ways, because the Onager Dune Crawler actually gives Skitarii battle line units within 6 a 4-up invul anyway. Oh, okay. So he gives your battle line a 4-up invul, but this stratagem for 2 CP could give your battle line and another unit a 4-up invul. Again, best ways to probably use this: unit of Rangers, unit of Vanguard, bounce that onto a unit of Chickens, which normally can't get an invul. You could use this on your I don't know, your Rust Stalkers if you need them to sort of survive a turn on an objective. But overall, it's just a shame it's 2 CP. I would have much preferred this to be 1 because it can only be used on Skitarii. Like, you could use it on the Chickens, the Dragoons. We call them Chickens because they look like chickens. They look like chickens. However, it's just a bit of a shame that it's 2 CP, where it could have probably stayed at 1. And it would have been really good. But yeah, so that's all the stratagems. Overall, big changes, I think. This is the one I'm unsure of who's come out the better side here. Because if we look at it from the wins, we've got the pre-calibrated purge solution. That's a really, really great stratagem. Lethal dosage is a great stratagem, and that as a combo is great. And the Ingress and the Baleful Halo is okay. It's okay. It's just a bit overcosted. But then you look at the other 3, and it's like, I would have wished Extinction Order left. And maybe kept Shootback. Aggressor Imperative for 1 CP now being also advanced 6. Again, while in that Assault Imperative can be really useful. But again, it's limited to Skitarii. And then finally, Bulwark Imperative going to 2 CP is just a bit of a shame. Exactly. I think the fact that there's a couple that shouldn't really be 2 CP, in my opinion. No, I agree. I think if I had to pick one of them to not be 2 CP, I'd probably say Baleful Halo. Because it's only in the fight phase. And it's, you know, like, it's very rare you'd want to use it on Skitarii units anyway. Because it's limited to Skitarii units. It's one of them things that's like... You can use this on Chicken Walkers. Well, no, sorry, the Baleful Halo you can use on any unit in your army. It's just, if you use it on the battle line unit, it bounces to another Skitarii unit. But again, like... I probably would rather just it be 1 CP and only pick 1 unit type of thing, right? But I think...
And now for a word from our sponsor, C Studios. They are the experts in providing professional miniature painting services, ensuring your armies always look their best on the battlefield. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just starting out, C Studios can help bring your miniatures to life. Don't miss out on their quality craftsmanship.
On the whole, we've got 3 good strats.
That's 3 really good strats. 3 really good strats.
We've got 4 good enhancements.
We've got 4 great enhancements, and the detachment rule's a lot better.
So on the whole,
it's a win.
It's a really big win.
We got to take it.
And I think AdMech players, it's going to be fun to actually try. It's like playing the army fresh again, right?
Yeah,
because so you're not having the same
things. There's a lot of changes. And I think if you were to tell an AdMech player, after seeing the Rad cohort and playing a few games with it, this is what you would get instead. I think all of them would be happy because it's a lot better. The fact that your opponent can't just decide to turn off your detachment rule is great.
Yeah.
And now actually can do a bit more.
Yeah.
Because that first turn, like if you roll well on those mortal wounds, could be devastating.
It could be.
You know, for a lot of armies we're seeing at the moment as well, they're fitting into that play style of maybe wanting to sit back a bit more.
Yeah.
So having sort of pushing that aura out, like versus Eldar, this is going to be really good. Like imagine turning around to an Eldar player and going, okay, well, all your units minimum on a 5 up are going to take D3 mortal wounds.
Yeah.
Like that could kill, maybe not a Wraith Guard won't care.
No, but more sweeping hawks.
Your warp spiders, Fwagan, your lone operative characters.
Yeah.
Like it's a big thing. So yeah, overall I think it's a win. In terms of like units, I would definitely be suggesting in this detachment. A lot of emphasis on battle line, which is just a common theme with AdMech.
Yeah.
I'd probably look at the Vanguard personally. I prefer them over the Rangers.
Okay.
Just because they decrease your OC by 1.
Yeah.
Within 3, so they help with mission play. Rangers are good, but I love my Vanguard.
Yeah.
Vanguard tactics.
Obviously.
and then just sort of building on that sentiment, Skatara units, so then you can bounce your stratagems around.
Yeah, you want to kind of focus on that from what you've read is you want to definitely have a big element of Skatara.
Yeah, and then on top of that, I think just an obvious one, Cataphon Breaches.
Yeah.
They are probably the standout unit in the Codex, and I will just say that you'll hear that a lot. But that is because just of how highly rated I think they are in this book.
So what is the benefit of Cataphon Breaches in this? How have you got a character leading them?
Yeah, so you can take a character leading them. So if you take the Dominus, he'll give the unit a Feel No Pain.
Oh, perfect.
But probably what I'd recommend more is taking a Manipulus.
Yep.
So the Manipulus gives his unit lethal and a once per game 4+ invul.
Okay.
But the main reason is because then you can give them the sustained enhancement.
Yeah.
The Peerless Eradicator.
Yeah.
And then what this will allow is then you've got a big unit of breaches that get a lot of shot with arc rifles, again, the gun I'd recommend.
Yeah.
You've got tons of shots there that are re-rolling all their hits with sustained and lethal.
Yeah.
And it's just a very nasty
It's
combo.
a very common combo now. I mean, the Space Marine Codex has got it littered everywhere.
Yeah.
These have got it.
And the other thing that's also really nice is that if you then have to get to the wound roll, the arc rifles are anti-vehicle 4+.
Oh, perfect.
And they're -2 flat 3 damage. So fantastic into this sort of, the Space Marine meta we're seeing.
Yeah, yeah.
But even past that, if you are watching this maybe later on and you're going, let's name Marine meta.
Yeah.
It is still very good.
Yeah.
You've got very solid options there. But that is what I sort of recommend.
Yeah. Nice. All right, dude. Well, thank you for running through this detachment with me. Guys, I hope you AdMech players are happy with the changes here. I mean, it sounds great.
I think it's positive, but I think what's more positive, personally, is the other detachments.
Okay, well, obviously, these videos will be coming out in quick succession with this codex, so we're going to be looking at the rest of them now. But guys, hope you like this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, leave a comment below about your opinions and thoughts about this, and maybe some results when the codex drops.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah?
I think personally, I'm gonna be taking these to a few events.
Nice.
So I will join you in the comment section of either saying how wrong I was, or how right I was, or how indifferent I was. So.